Welcome to Today with Dr. Kaye. I'm Dr. Kaye Wise Whitehead. Folks, today is Friday, and there is a lot going on both locally with the firing of Commissioner Kevin Davis and nationally as the government is due to shut down in just about 9 hours. So with all of that happening, why don't we agree for the next couple of hours to have a conversation that matters? This news is shocking, not surprising, a little unsettling that Mayor Catherine Pugh has fired Commissioner Kevin Davis. Now, folks, we have to understand you cannot fire the entire police department, but you can fire the commissioner. But where are we as a city, and how did we get here? People are scrambling at this moment trying to figure out if there are any additional changes in the Baltimore Police Department. Chief T.J. Smith, who is the media relations section of the Baltimore Police Department, has sent out a statement. Just very quickly, it's one line. Good afternoon. Just an update. There have been no additional staff changes in the BPD. So it's just Commissioner Kevin Davis. Folks, it rises and it falls on your shoulders alone. According to the story in the New York Times, last year, we had the highest murder rate in our history, and by far the highest among the nation's 30 largest cities. That statistic has not been the only blow to our image. When we talk about how we're seen around the world, we have been dealing with children shivering in city schools with no heat. We've been dealing with the hospital, kicking the woman out with patient dumping. Rebecca, we talked about her last night. Even Chicago, which has shared our notoriety for violence in recent years, saw homicides fall last year while our numbers continue to rise. And nobody is sure about what to do. Although the reasons for the high rate of violence are unclear, city officials, everybody from Mayor Catherine Pugh to Marilyn Mosby, they're experimenting. And they say they're doing just about anything and everything to bring these numbers down. Everybody knows that when I say 343, I'm not talking about a song. I'm not talking about a food order. I'm not talking about random numbers. I'm talking about the homicide numbers from last year. Now, the police are saying that the vast majority of homicides are retaliatory and committed by repeat offenders. Last year, victims had an average of 11 arrests apiece. I want you to hear that again. Last year, victims had an average of 11 arrests apiece. Almost half had been arrested in connection with violent crimes, and nearly 3/4 were arrested on drug charges. The suspected killers have similar rap sheets, though they have been arrested fewer times on average than the victims. Some of these are common to cities that are like us, but we are a port city. And in addition to dealing with homicide numbers, we've also been a center of heroin use and distribution since at least the 1970s. So there are neighborhoods in our city that have been starved of investment in schools, businesses, even sidewalk repair. You can't even drive down most of our streets here without dealing with potholes. The city has abandoned about 16,000 homes. Lead poisoning has been rising in our children. That comes from peeling paint, has been linked to a lack of impulse control and learning disabilities. It's nearly 3 times higher than the national rate here in Baltimore City. There was an article done about Freddie Gray that if the police hadn't killed Freddie Gray, the lead paint probably did. Last year, we had 6 members of the department's gun trace task force pleaded guilty in a scandal. And that involves stealing money, guns, drugs. We're now operating under a federal consent decree. Folks, this is Baltimore City. The city council confirmed Commissioner Kevin Davis in October 2015. Dude had a 5-year, $200,000 annual contract. We can't even get raises for our teachers here. He was named interim commissioner by former mayor Stephanie Rollins Blake. And that's after she fired his predecessor, Anthony Batts. That was with the surge in violence following by the uprising that happened in April 2015. Earlier today, Mayor Catherine Pugh, when she fired Police Commissioner Kevin Davis, she cited the need to get a handle on Baltimore's record levels of violence. Let's take a listen to the clip, and then we can talk about it.
This morning, I announced that we relieved Commissioner Davis of his position as Commissioner for the Baltimore City Police Department, and I've named Deputy Commissioner D'Souza as Commissioner for the Baltimore City Police Department. For those of you who don't know, for the last year, I had an opportunity to interact with our police department over the last year. I've gotten to know many of our law enforcement officers, commanders, and those who've been working with this police department. I want you to know that I worked side by side with Commissioner Davis, hardworking, but I'm impatient. We need violence reduction. We need the numbers to go down faster than they are. I can tell you with the initiative that I put in place about 10, 11 weeks ago that we are trending downward. But I believe that Commissioner D'Souza understands how important this is and how impatient I am, and will now take the helm of the Baltimore Police Department.
So, Commissioner Kevin Davis is out. He was fired by Mayor Catherine Pugh. She said she is tired. I'm going to paraphrase for you. She's tired of these record levels of violence. We need to trend downward. And step one is getting rid of Commissioner Kevin Davis. We have seen it before. So we need to get in more information. So the best person that we reached out to was Councilman Brandon Scott from the 2nd District. Councilman Scott, thank you so much for joining us.
Doctor, thank you for having me.
I appreciate you taking the time because as I understand it, you were, to put it in the words of the Hamilton cast, in the room when this happened, right?
Yep. Yes, ma'am.
Can you kind of describe for us the general sense? Were people shocked, astonished? Did they expect it to happen? Like, what was the general feeling in the room?
So, I mean, I think it was surprise for many folks. I think that a lot of folks thought that this was a long time coming, and I can only speak for myself and someone who understands, first going to understanding that not one person and not one agency, in this case being the police department, will solve the Baltimore crime problem, but this move is a step to deal with that. You know, personally, I think that a holistic and comprehensive approach is the only way that we'll truly ever see continuous drops in homicides and violence in Baltimore. But I wholeheartedly support Commissioner D'Souza becoming the commissioner for Baltimore City. Actually, when the previous police commissioner was fired, I lobbied for him to become the police commissioner then, because it's not just about going inside for the department and making the new person come from inside. It's about who it is from the inside, and having the pleasure of working with the commissioner from his time as a district commander in my district up and through becoming a deputy commissioner. I've been able to see that he's a different kind of person when it comes to policing. You know, being an African-American man who moved here to go to Morgan State, who raised kids here, and who worked in the streets of Baltimore and knows what it means to grow up and be a young man and a black man in America, and also who has the experience of being at every level of the department, and now through his IACP fellowship has the experience of understanding law enforcement from a national level. I think that he is the right person at the right time. And I think that for me, what was the extra support for that is that the immediate text messages that I got from community people and police, citizens and police alike, saying, this is a good thing for us. I'm glad that this was the decision that was made. Whereas in the past, in the recent times that we made a change, that didn't happen.
Right.
There was no unified response from citizens and police alike. So I look forward to working with him. I'm going to hold him, even though everyone knows that we have a personal relationship. I'm going to hold him accountable just like I held every other police commissioner accountable. But I think that this was the right move for Baltimore.
Now, it's interesting, Councilman Scott, that when Commissioner Davis was brought in, I'm going back a couple of years, there was kind of the same kind of conversation. He was the right person to come in. He was not connected, but he knew how to police. He knew how to transform the police department. We heard the same thing in 2015. And we have dumped, I don't know what, $400,000, I'm thinking of 2 years of pay into him, maybe 3 or so. But we're at a point where we're not trending downward, even though the mayor says we are. And we're at a point now we've only had 11 homicides in 19 days or so. But for most places, that's a lot. For us, it's a small number. We're still moving forward. Do you think that people in Baltimore City can be comfortable knowing that we have a new commissioner and you're saying he has our back, he understands our needs, he understands our streets, and he can help us turn this trend in a different direction?
Yeah, I think that, but I think that it will be up to him and to show his work through his agency, and I think that he will do that. Again, like I said, he was the person that I personally lobbied for back in 2015, and I think that if you look at just his things, for example, right, when he was the commander of Northeast District in Northeast Baltimore, where Morgan State is, Northeast District had its lowest crime numbers ever, right? When he moved to the Chief of Patrol's office and was in charge of all patrol, Baltimore saw its second lowest years of violent crime ever. So wherever he's been, there has been success when he's been in those positions. Unfortunately, when he was deputy commissioner, most of the time he was shipped out. He was not here physically to be here for the unfortunate rises in crime that we saw. So I think that yes is the answer to that, but I think that his work, and listen, you know that I personally am going to continue to say that not one person can be the end all be all, but leadership does matter, and I think that you will see a change, and the truth is that the change will come, and it will come specifically because it's someone who understands both sides. And I do think that him being African American and being able to be that gap bridger will help us move forward.
Now, Commissioner Scott, I know that Councilman Scott, I know that you have your fingertips on the pulse of what's happening in this city. So as the new Commissioner D'Souza, who begins to get ready to hit the ground running, can you outline for us kind of 3 or 4 things that you would offer to him as suggestions for what he should focus on first? This is in addition, of course, to the homicide numbers, but what are some other things he should turn his attention to?
Yeah, I think that of course the number one thing that he has to do is to figure out a way how to bolster patrol and how to get officers back on the street in a fashion where we're staffing and that we have officers being proactive on the street in a way that we had in the past, right? We have to deal with that elephant in the room that they're short staffed, and that's one of the first things that he says today is that he wants to get more officers in uniform out of the administrative jobs and back on the street, but also being intentional about not focusing in on grabbing every little small person that's out there doing every little small crime, but focusing on the people that are really harming people in those communities, who are out there robbing people, who are out there shooting people, and that's where the focus has to be. And at the same time, he also, at a dual time, has to continue to try to rebuild the relationship between the police and the community. So those are just a few things. He has to figure out a way to use his resources in a more efficient manner so that we're not spending, all this money in overtime, but also that we're utilizing the troops that we have and having them actually do police work and not just administrative and report writing. Those are some of the small things that he can do, but the large things is having to be focused where they need to be focused and being intentional about doing that.
Now, given that some of the things you said about D'Souza, the new commissioner, that he is an African-American, he moved to Baltimore City, he's raised his children here, all of which, in so many ways, I agree with you, it gives you a real sense of Baltimore City. Where do you stand, Councilman Scott, on Baltimore City police officers who don't live here, but who work here? Should our police officers be required to live in the city?
Well, I think that is an extensive debate. If you look at some places like Pittsburgh and other who have had those kind of rulings. They've been overturned because of, it's been deemed in some cases that basically that it's not constitutional. And I think for me, it's always been more about who we hire and not necessarily where they get hired from, right? I think that I've been on record recently saying that, listen, I was the person who last year pushed for them to bring back the cadet program and told them to focus in on Baltimore City young people who have self-identified that they're interested in law enforcement through our Police Explorers program. That's something that we need to do, but also I've just 2 or 3 weeks ago had an extensive discussion with the police department at a hearing and told them that we actually need to home grow our police, and the only way to truly do that is for us to do it from young people. We have high schools in town that we have Medical Arts Academy where kids can go and be an EMT cadet. We have the NAP High School where the kids learn the service industry. At my alma mater at Mervo, you can learn auto mechanic, barbering, hairstyling, child care, baking, all of these things. Why don't we have a program or a high school specifically for fire and police? So when these kids graduate high school, they go straight to being a cadet in fire and police, and then over time we will see it grown from the community. That's where the focus should be as far as hiring for us. I'm not about I'm not about telling someone where they have to live, but if we can home grow our talent, we'll have the less need to see people from the outside come in.
Now, as we continue to go forward, one of the things I just wanted to ask you, as you're thinking about Baltimore City and kind of what we can do, now that we've talked about Commissioner D'Souza, what do you think that teachers, because we've been dealing with this thing with what's happening in the schools, what do you think teachers should be focusing on now? Should they be talking to their students about this new commissioner? Should they be talking to them about how they can be actively involved? Because teachers have been tapping in with me saying, well, what do we do now? How do we frame this for our students and have discussions around this?
Yeah, I think that we should, but I think that we should be, if it were up to me, we would actually have a citizenship class based on Baltimore for our students, so they understand how to operate government and how to operate in their communities and as the citizens of the city in period. But I think that we can point to things that we're doing. I don't know if you're familiar with the youth dialogue circles.
Yes, I am.
Community mediation. So
yes.
Those are the kind of things that we have to expand upon so that we're having those tough conversations, but that we're also putting police and young people, and not just at the high level, but at the street level, those teenagers and those cops that are going to be out in those neighborhoods together so that they have a better understanding of each other so that they can learn. Because they can learn from a teacher about those kind of things, but it's more important to me that they learn from each other about those things so that you cut out the middleman, you cut out this cookie-cutter approach, and let those young people, those police officers who are going to interact with each other understand and try to build a relationship from the ground up.
Now, Councilman Scott, in the last couple of minutes that I have with you, and I definitely do appreciate your time, we are still pretty much at the beginning of 2018, right? We're only a couple of weeks in to this new year. Can you just kind of outline for us broadly some of the issues that you're going to be focused on this year? Like, what are you looking to do to transform this city? Starting from the 2nd District, of course, and going out from there.
Yeah, I guess, as the chair of the Public Safety Committee, first and foremost, of course, public safety is number one priority for me. We're going to be actually just having conversations with the mayor's staff. Again, at our last council meeting, I put in a council resolution asking for all of the mayor's agency heads, including the police commissioners, to come before the council to tell us what their crime fighting and crime reduction strategy for this year is going to be. We're going to be doing that in the weeks to come. We're also going to be focused, of course, for me, I'm always focused on the health situations and health of our children. Right now, I have a bill about healthy food options and menus in restaurants for our young people. That's going to continue to be a focus for me because we know that the health of our communities is directly tied into the violence in our community. So I think that folks have to have a better understanding of that. And I will say that folks should look out for some more better government stuff from me as well. But we always know that for me, public safety will be the top priority.
Now, what do you think prevented former commissioner at this point, Kevin Davis, from winning the war on violence? Like, why wasn't he successful?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that anybody sets out not to be successful. I just think that he tried some things and went and did some things and made some decisions that didn't have the impact that he thought they would have. Didn't have the success that he thought he would. I don't think that he intentionally set out to be bad or intentionally didn't want the city to succeed. And you thank him for his service. And then I do think that, there were some positives on the non-crime fight side. He did get us through this consent decree. But where he fell short was on the crime fighting side. And I think that is, above all, listen, it only in Baltimore, it matters what one person thinks about the police commissioner, and that's the mayor of Baltimore, because he or she is the only person who can remove that person or tell them to do anything. And the mayor made her decision based on the lives of the families that had been impacted by the trauma.
Well, I have one final question for you, Councilman Scott. Since we can't really kind of point out why Commissioner Davis didn't win the war on violence, as a city, why do you think we are not winning this war on violence?
I think that we aren't winning the war on violence because for far too long we've treated violence as something that can be curable through one thing. We haven't treated it as a disease and a public health problem. And as you know, that is what I'm going to continue to push the mayor and her administration to attack it as. This is what we have to have, a full approach to violence. Policing is just one part of it. Violence is a disease that's passed down from family member to family member to community member to community member, and we have to attack it in that way from all efforts. We have to be very intentional about how we do that, and we have to understand that includes everything from family strengthening training programs to economic opportunity and development. That includes, opportunities in schools and education for kids, of course. And it also includes policing, but we cannot continue this mindset that they have had for most of my life, that we can solve crime just through policing, because that's not going to happen.
Thank you so much, Councilman Brandon Scott from the 2nd District. Thank you for your time. We will continue to watch as the situation unfolds. We are wishing Commissioner D'Souza, of course, the best, and we stand with you to assist. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So, folks, Commissioner Kevin Davis is out. Mayor Catherine Pugh came out today, had a press conference to fire him. He is out. He was placed in their office in, 2015 with former Mayor Stephanie Rollins Blake. He's had time to turn it around. He has not been able to do it. The new commissioner is D'Souza. When we come back, we're going to listen to his first press conference and the way he's outlining what he plans to do in the city. And then I want to hear from you. 410-319-8888. Let's have a conversation that matters. Let's talk about Baltimore. What's next? This is Today with Dr. Kaye. I'm Dr. Kaye Wise Whitehead. Stay with us. Welcome back to Today with Dr. Kaye. I'm Dr. Kaye Wise Whitehead. Folks, there is a lot happening both locally with the firing of Commissioner Kevin Davis. He is out. And nationally, because we are at this moment counting down to a potential government shutdown. We're talking 8.5 hours before the government shuts down. Now, that might sound scary. I mean, we're in the world of Donald Trump, so really anything could happen. But we have someone here to help us make sense of it. And then we're going to talk about all of this with you. I have on the phone Professor Jason Johnson. He's a professor of politics and journalism right here at Morgan at the School of Global Journalism and Communication. Professor Johnson, thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Happy to be here.
So can you help us make sense of this? 8.5 hours until the government shuts down. Like, what does that really mean for people?
Well, what it means is that there's something called a continuing resolution, right? Mm-hmm. So there's two ways you can pay for the government. You can have a general budget that just pays for everything, right? Or you can have a continuing resolution where you just pay things piecemeal. So it's kind of the difference between, having a phone where you just pay for the plan for the whole month or paying for your minutes, right? So what's been going on with the Republicans running Congress is they've just been paying for minutes. They just renew government funding for 3 months or 2 months at a time, and now we're running up against another deadline, which will be tonight at midnight. The Republicans can't agree on what they actually want to do as far as long-term funding, so they basically have held some Democratic policies hostage, and they're telling Democrats, hey, if you don't do what we want, then the government is shut down, even though the truth of the matter is most of this is because the Republicans couldn't figure out what they wanted to do.
Now, so I want to kind of break this down because I have a number of people who are checking in with me on Facebook Live. I know that you are sick, so we are just so thankful to have you on just for a couple of minutes to help us make sense of this. How much does DACA, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, and the work that the president was dealing with immigration, just thinking about his comments last week, is DACA impacting kind of people withholding their agreement on what they're going to have done so they can keep the government open?
Well, yeah, it's important for everybody to remember, DACA was a policy that Obama put in. He wanted to do something about people who were brought to this country illegally by their parents as children and didn't have a choice. It's about 800,000 people. Now, the catch is you had states that were suing about DACA. We don't know if President Obama's executive order was going to last. But what President Trump did is he said, well, I'm just going to end it, and it's all going to be over in March. And if you guys don't come up with something by March, then basically all those kids are going to be illegal and they're going to be sent out of the country and they're going to be, hunted down by ICE. So Democrats have been saying since last fall there was no reason to get rid of that bill. There was no reason to rescind that executive order. We want it to get fixed. The Republicans are like, well, we'll fix it if you give us that white nationalist wall that we've been begging for. We want that wall with Mexico, which no one believes is going to happen because it doesn't make any sense.
Not at all.
And so basically what you have is a situation where the Democrats have said, look, if you don't agree to fix DACA and fix the child health insurance program, which is CHIP, we have no reason to work on a continuing budget. And the catch is Republicans are going to say, look at this. The Democrats are going to allow the government to get shut down for these immigrants and they're going to allow these kids to starve. And the Democrats are saying, but you caused this. Mm-hmm. CHIP expired in October. We could have fixed it. You let it expire. You're the guys who ended DACA. These were existing policies that you ended. So if the government shuts down, it's because you can't get your party together to pass bills. And why should we help you guys get in a circular firing squad and shoot yourselves in the head?
Now, we're dealing with a president who at this moment has a 39% approval rating, which we know in terms of breaking records is the lowest ever. But here's a man who also tweeted, and this is what I want you to respond to, who tweeted out, quote, the Dems, well, he's talking about the Democrats, will threaten shutdown, but what they're really doing is shutting down our military at a time we need it most. Like, a lot of people read this and were horrified. Is there any truth in that at all? I mean, when you shut down the government, do you shut down the military too?
No. What ends up happening is when you have a shutdown, it depends on what you do for the military. The real issue is that if you are considered to be essential to government service, you keep working even though you don't get paid. So certain federal police, military people, TSA, all those folks are still going to have to get up, go to work every single day, even if they're not going to get paid. And that is what is extremely problematic about all this. I mean, I know people who are federal prosecutors. I was a kid when the shutdowns happened, I think in the 90s. I remember the shutdowns that happened, I guess it was 3 or 4 years ago.
Right, in
under
2013,
Obama.
yes.
They're extremely financially disruptive. Right. And not just here in the D.C. metro Baltimore area, but you got to remember there are going to be parts of the country where, a federal agency, the EPA, a state park, is the biggest employer in the region.
Right.
So when these things get shut down, there's always an argument and fight over, well, which park gets closed, which passport office gets closed, which government agency that, tests water and food and drugs, which ones get closed, which NASA office gets closed. So, it's extremely disruptive. It's extremely problematic. And again, it's because the Republicans couldn't figure out how to pass their own legislation. And the Democrats are not responsible. I'm not saying the Democrats are heroes in this situation. Right. I'm saying it makes absolutely no sense to blame a shutdown on the minor party when Republicans control the House and the Senate and the presidency.
Professor Johnson, I just have two more quick questions for you, sir, and then, of course, I'll let you go back to resting. There's this sense that we are now, I'm talking we as the American public, are now being held hostage, that until they make their mind up of what they're going to do, we're watching, on CNN Live, the actual countdown in red numbers. And there's this fear-mongering that's happening. So even if the government shuts down, and say it shuts down on Monday, when people go back to work on Thursday, they do get paid for the missed days, right? Like it gets made up.
No, you don't. You're
okay.
SOL.
Wow.
You lose your
Okay.
money. The only way you get that money back is if when a new budget is written, that somehow there's sort of a back pay element to it. That usually doesn't happen. So if you are out of work for 4 or 5 or 6 days or 10 days, I mean, in the Reagan administration, you had a couple 1 or 2 day shutdowns.
Right.
I think there was one, I think in Clinton, it happened over Columbus Day weekend. Nobody cared. But you ain't getting that money back. So if you lose a week's worth of pay, then you just lose a week's worth of pay. And guess what? Your car payment, your gas payment, the grocery store, and your landlord don't care if there's a government shutdown. If you can't pay, you can't pay. So it's hitting people. We're right at the end, sort of heading to the end of the month, and this is where things get particularly ugly because it has the potential to bite into 2 months. Let's say this lasts for 10 days, right?
Right.
It's just 10 days. Let's say it goes until Trump's inauguration on January 30th. Well, then you wouldn't just be missing, depending on if you get paid once or twice a month, you wouldn't just be missing 2 paychecks, but you would be digging into the next month. So people may miss multiple paychecks and nothing kicks in until February. Yeah. And that's extremely disruptive for a lot of people's lives.
So where do we go from here, Professor Johnson? In your expert opinion, because I know you study politics and journalism, do you think they're going to come up with another stopgap measure to kind of at least, if not stop the bleeding and heal the wound, at least put a Band-Aid over it and slow it down just a little bit?
You can't heal a wound if you can't agree on what the diagnosis is. And I don't think either side, look, the Republicans kind of want to shut down because they hate the government. And they think they can win this in a sort of a narrative plan. The Democrats want to shut down because they don't want to work with Trump, and they don't have to. Look, it's the hostage situation. I have a piece coming up on The Root that's going to talk about this. It'll probably be up in about an hour or so, so I encourage everyone on the politics editor of theroot.com, go check it out. But, the Democrats have figured out what every person figures out in a hostage situation in an action movie. There's a point at which you look at the guy, he's holding your wife, your girlfriend, your husband, whatever it is. He's got a knife in the neck. Give me what I want or I'm going to kill him. And what you realize is, oh, wait, you're going to kill them anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't matter what I do. I could drop my gun. I could give you the keys. I could give you the password to the nuclear missiles. It doesn't matter. You're going to kill them anyway. So there's no reason for me to negotiate with a terrorist. The Democrats have recognized Donald Trump don't want those 800,000 Hispanic children in this country.
Right.
He doesn't. So why negotiate with him on this deal? There's no point in it. Either you cut a deal with the Republicans or you don't, but Donald Trump can't really be a part of the process because there's no reason to think that he won't try something else down the road. Why negotiate on chip when it is a problem that Republicans have made? So that's where we are. If both sides kind of want to shut down, then we're going to get a shutdown. And given the fact that, the kinds of people that are supposedly going to bring pressure in this situation are actually the ones who are pushing for it. So, for example, you've got the Hispanic caucus. The Hispanic caucus is pretty much backing this. They're like, look, we're not moving forward without a DACA deal. And if they don't want to go a DACA deal, then fine. So the Democrats are going to look like heroes to their constituents, and the Republicans look like the people who jacked up the government again.
Last question, Professor Johnson. 1 year here into Donald Trump's administration. Can you just give us some broad predictions? Where do you think we're going this year? This
is absolutely unsustainable. We have a white nationalist in the White House. He endangers our sovereignty. He endangers our national security. He is a clear and present danger to any and all people of color in this country. And the likelihood that we'll be able to sustain 8 years of this without significant domestic terror and financial upheaval is unlikely.
I'm just going to co-sign all of that. I want to thank you so much for joining us, particularly from your sick bed. I want to encourage people to go on to The Root in just about an hour or so. You have a new piece coming up. Professor Johnson is a professor of politics and journalism right here at Morgan State University in the School of Global Journalism and Communication. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
Thanks. Anytime. Bye.
So, folks, we are having a conversation that matters. We have two big issues on the table that I want to hear from you about. We have what's happening locally, where Commissioner Kevin Davis is out. He has been fired by Mayor Catherine Pugh, and our new commissioner is D'Souza. Additionally, the government is due to shut down. I'm just checking the time here, talking less than 8 hours. Our government might shut down. I want to hear from you. 410-319-8888. So what do you think we should do? Let's talk about Commissioner Kevin Davis first. And the fact that it has been since 2015 that Commissioner Kevin Davis was put into office by Mayor Stephanie Rollins Blake. This is after she fired Batts. She put Commissioner Davis in, and people were excited about him. They said things like, he's exactly what we need. We need someone who has no ties to the city. We need someone who can come in and clean house. We need someone who has a fresh perspective. He's going to tell us what we need to do. Well, folks, since he's been here, the ship that he was trying to turn has gone even farther down the hole. I mean, we're now coming off of the third year where we've had 300 homicides in a row. So I'm like Mayor Catherine Pugh, kind of tired of the violence. I'm just wondering what took so long to get rid of them. I have Thomas on the phone. Thomas, welcome to the show.
Hey, Dr. Kaye, Dr. Kaye.
How you doing, sir?
I'm happy. I celebrated a birthday yesterday.
Happy birthday.
I'm gonna be honest with you. The mayor couldn't get me a better birthday present than to get rid of Kevin Davis.
That was just for you, Thomas.
Kaye, how long have I been saying he needed to go?
You've been saying that for a long... Since I've been having this show since October, you've been calling and saying we need to get rid of the commissioner. He is gone, Thomas.
He is gone, but here's the problem. He's gone, but his subordinates are still there. Okay?
Yes, I know what you're saying.
This guy who's taking his place, D'Souza. What do we really know about him?
Now, wait a minute now. Hold on, Thomas, because I just had Councilman Scott on the phone, and Councilman Scott says what he knows about Commissioner D'Souza is that he moved into Baltimore. He's been raising his family here in Baltimore City. Councilman Scott says because he's an African-American, he'll have a different take. So we seem to have a little bit more information, at least more connected to the community here than, say, a Commissioner Kevin Davis coming in.
Okay, well,
okay.
I look at it this way. He's been in the department for, he said, 30 years.
Yeah.
Okay? So if you've been in the department for 30 years, that means, and we're just hearing about you, that means you've been a part of the problem for 30 years.
Now, do you think that Commissioner D'Souza, who's someone new, I mean, should we give him the benefit of the doubt? Should we give him an opportunity, Thomas, to at least try?
Well, give anybody an opportunity.
Okay.
But here's the problem. If we don't clean the police department up from the top to the bottom,
right,
we're still going to have the same thing. Baltimore City Police Department needs to be in total receivership of the federal government. We need to do Baltimore City Police Department like they did, I think it was either Newark, New Jersey or Camden, New Jersey.
I remember what you're talking about. Where they came in and cleaned house. They cleaned house.
They came in, cleaned house, and they got rid of everybody from the top to the bottom. And now, right now today, that department is doing real good right now today because they clean house. So you still got that good old boy mentality right there.
Well, I know.
When I say the good old boy mentality, I'm talking about your FOP.
I know what you're talking about. I'm going to let you go now, Thomas. Thank you. Happy birthday. I'm going to tell the mayor that you sent a personal thank you because I'm sure she did this one for you. We have Troy on the line. Troy, welcome to the show. Thank you for calling back. Troy, can you turn your phone down, your radio down in the back, please? Troy, are you with us?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. How are you? Thank you for calling back.
Yeah, I don't think Kathy Pugh fired Commissioner Davis. Larry Hogan fired them because of Amazon.
Okay.
That's what happened.
So you think that Larry Hogan, our governor, fired the commissioner of the Baltimore City Police Department, Kevin Davis, because Amazon's not going to bring their company here?
Yes, ma'am.
You don't think it's because of the 343 homicides, the third year in a row? You think it's over money with Amazon and not the rise in crime?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, now, come on, Troy. You got to tell me, where'd you get that from?
I mean,
why do you think that?
Because look how when he done it, if she would have gonna fire him, she would have been done it. Why here the 2 days after Amazon said they're not going to come, and all of a sudden this comes down?
Oh, because maybe Amazon's not coming. You're connecting that to the violence?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, you know what? Actually, you know what, Troy? That I can get behind. If you're connecting it all because of violence, why bring Amazon here with 343, right?
Yes,
why keep Target open with 343? So all of this is connected is what you're saying. All right. Thank you so much, Troy, for checking in. Folks, we are talking about Commissioner Kevin Davis. He is out of there. Mayor Catherine Pugh fired him today. And we are trying to move in a different direction. I have Leo on the line. Leo, welcome back to the show.
Praise God, whom all blessings flow.
Amen. People are now calling with something new here.
Yeah, well, I've been beating the drum for Kevin to go.
Yes, you have been.
Kevin Davis, thank God he's going or gone, but this is not an easy task for anybody.
Right.
When you have a systemically, racially entrenched pattern of racism and institutional racism, discrimination, it's a challenge. Daryl D'Souza's been with the department, I understand, more than 25 years.
Yes, he is. I think almost 30 years, actually.
Almost 30 years. He's worked his way up through the ranks. He knows this city.
He's raised his kids here.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. He's going to be compassionate. He's going to abide by the consent decree direction, but he's going to be a tough cop.
Yeah.
He's not going to be a pushover at all. He understands the importance of law enforcement. Kevin Davis had a record of incompetence, whether it be overtime, fraudulent payments, police running amok, and then he did not deliver on the Freddie Gray the trials, the police trials that were conducted for those officers who committed the murder of Freddie Gray. In my opinion, nobody suffered any kind of penalty. And that was on the watch of Kevin Davis. So I'm just overjoyed that we can give Daryl D'Souza an opportunity. If he serves for less than 2 years, you can't do it.
No, you need a little bit of time. You need a little bit of time.
3 years to show which way you go. We can't give him less time than we gave Kevin Davis. The shutdown of the government, Donald the actor Trump again, he wants to be king. He wants to be a king, so this plays into his narrative. Namely, he wants less government, less federal government. So why not shut down the government if he can gain dictatorial control over what happens and not happen, and he keeps the military. He's the commander-in-chief of our military. So this is an ideal situation for Donald Trump. He wants this narrative to prevail, and he wants to inflict a war upon us if he can. If he can initiate a war, whether it's conventional or nuclear, he'll do whatever he has to do to become the dictator that he clearly has indicated he wants to become.
Thank you, Leo. This is a weekend that people need to stay woke this weekend. There is a lot happening. I have James on the line. James, welcome to the show.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for calling.
How you doing, Sister Kaye? I'm
doing well. It's been a long week, right?
Yes, it has. Look, what I wanted to say was, it don't matter. I agree with some things the brother previously said, but the president don't matter. This is a local issue.
Yes,
Baltimore is being discarded.
Yeah.
And I stated on Facebook before, when we had Freddie Gray's murder, I stated that the police commissioner at the time, who was Betts, should be fired because he was about self-aggrandizement.
Yes.
And I'm stating this man came up under Betts.
Yeah.
And we found out later that he's a joke.
Right.
This man came up under Davis and Betts. Now, how much joke he going to be?
Well, let me ask you a question. Should we give Commissioner D'Souza at least the benefit of the doubt? Like to give him a chance to show us what he can do.
Who you think you've been paying him?
Okay. Ah.
All right, babe.
All right, thank you so much. Folks, we have a lot going on. Commissioner Kevin Davis has been fired. We have somebody new who's taken over. We have Ernest on the line. Ernest, welcome to the show. Ernest, hello, Ernest. How are you?
Yeah. The problem with black people is that y'all think y'all know the culture of the police department.
Uh-oh. Because aren't you a former cop?
If you never worked as a police,
you
don't know the culture of a police. You don't know nothing about D'Souza. The only thing you know is that he came in 88, and he's police commissioner now.
That's it.
That should be a red flag right there.
Because of everything that's been happening since 88. Yeah.
Now, the reason why Kevin Davis got fired is not because of no Amazon and no crap like that. The reason why he got fired, first of all, he hasn't solved the problem with Suda.
Right, not at all.
He hasn't, and he said a black male with they saw this black male twice, and the black male walked up to him and shot him. He had a partner, and shot him in the head, and the partner couldn't give no information and all this. And I told you then, it looked like a self-inflicted wound.
Yes, you did say that.
And this is why the FBI is not even dealing with it. They're not even playing with Kevin Davis. And the other thing is the people that was involved in that Freddie Gray trial, they were not held accountable in anything. Matter of fact, they got cushy jobs.
Yes, they do.
Got cushy jobs. And then he has the gun task force, which wasn't started with him at all. But he had police raiding houses in the county, going in, locking up families, putting cuffs on families, and searching the house, taking them out of there, then going back and filming and stealing money, and going on vacation when you're supposed to be working, not staying home,
right?
Going to the Bahamas. This is all on your watch.
This is on his watch, and that's why he's being held accountable. What's up? Last comment, Ernest. Go ahead, sir.
He's happy. Because he got a golden parachute.
Yes, he did.
He don't have to come in and face you Negroes and put on a fake smile. He can go up to West Virginia or wherever with his
and go
family.
Somewhere else. Now I'm gonna stop you there, Ernest. Thank you so much for checking it.
And say.
Now, Ernest, I'm going to stop you there. Ernest, thank you so much for giving us a call. Folks, keep it here. When we come back, we're going to hear the words from our new commissioner, D'Souza. Hear him in his own words. He's going to lay out his plan and talk about what's happening. This is Today with Dr. Kaye. I'm Dr. Kaye Wise with us. Dr. Kaye Wise Whitehead. Let me say my own name correctly. Dr. Kaye Wise Whitehead. We have Darren and Linda. Stand by. We will get to you after the break, and keep it here for an update from MTA.
Good afternoon from the MTA. Out there right now, you'll find light rail link and metro subway link operating on time, problem-free. The MARC train system showing no present delays on time service on the Camden, Penn, and Brunswick lines of MARC train. Buses dealing with a few diversions, including the Navy line westbound. It's diverted at Eastern and Linwood for water main break repair. Eastbound at Eastern and Patterson Park. And the 67 and 94 buses northbound are diverted at Charles and Lee for construction. And the orange, purple, and blue lines eastbound at Baltimore and Asquith for construction there. Beginning tonight at 7 p.m. through Monday at 4 a.m., light rail link service between the Camden Yards and North Avenue stations will be suspended for necessary maintenance. Shuttle buses will be in place. For the MTA Transit team, I'm Mark Jones on 88.9 FM, WEAA, the voice of the community.
Welcome back to Today with Dr. Kaye. I'm Dr. Kaye Wise Whitehead. We are doing kind of a roundup of the two big stories that's demanding our attention at this moment. One is the firing of Commissioner Kevin Davis here in Baltimore City by Mayor Catherine Pugh. He is out, folks. People have been begging for months for him to be fired. Your prayers Your chants, your call-outs have been answered. He is out. And I want to hear what you think about that. 410-319-8888. And the second story that is demanding our attention is that the government is shutting down. I think that's going to happen. I know we're all predicting it's a maybe, but the countdown is 7 hours, 53 minutes, 36, 35, 34 seconds. The government is going to shut down. And what we just heard from Professor Johnson is that if the government shuts down, you don't get the money. They don't hold it for you. They don't pay you later. The money is gone. He said if this happens, and it happens for more than 10 days, you can cut into 2 paychecks. And people will really feel it. It's like the Republican Party is holding us hostage, folks. It's like they have something at our throats and we cannot move. I want to talk about both of those things on the table. 410-319-8888. I want to hear from you. I have Luke Broadwater standing by on the phone from the Baltimore Sun. Luke, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So can you give us a sense? We've talked to Councilman Scott. We've talked to Professor Johnson. I want to talk to you from the Baltimore Sun because I know you have your ears to the ground. What is going on with the firing of Commissioner Davis? What's been the fallout from this?
Well, it's certainly very big news because the police commissioner is seen by many as a very important position here in Baltimore. This is something that happens. Frankly, I've covered I think 4 of these now. Every 2 or 3 years, I joked that I've seen this movie before. But it does seem like when we go through crime spikes, I remember. When Sheila Dixon was mayor, there was a crime spike. Leonard Ham was the police commissioner. She fired him and put in Police Commissioner Bielefeld. When Stephanie Rawlings-Blake was mayor, there was a crime spike, and Anthony Batts was the police commissioner. She fired him, and now we see the same thing with Kevin Davis. I think the mayor is under a lot of pressure right now to show that she's making some progress in Baltimore. She's been writing op-eds and having people write op-eds. Wait a minute.
Now, I want to have you stop there for a second, because I saw the op-ed in the Washington Post. And there was something that kind of struck me, that the op-ed's in the Washington Post, not in the Baltimore Sun, but that she's talking about this big, broad vision of the city, and some of us are not seeing that vision on the ground. So is this part of our whole publicity piece with that guy they hired on the $40,000 3-month contract to clean up her image?
I don't know how much he's involved with this. Maybe he is or isn't, but yeah. So she's been putting out this idea of changing the narrative, right? And she's been getting a lot of pushback from people in the community saying, we don't want to change the narrative, we want to change the reality,
right?
And so this is something that a mayor can do quickly. And shows that there is perceived by the public as they're taking action to do something about the crime. Whether or not it will result in anything good obviously remains to be seen. We've kind of been in a rut with crime where we've had 3 years now of more than 300 homicides. But even if you look back, even in the best years for the city, we were talking about the low 200s or the high 100s, and those aren't very good numbers either.
Right.
So at some point, I think the public will demand that more of the root causes of crime be addressed by city and state government.
Well, let me ask you about the new commissioner, D'Souza. I have been arguing on the show. You know, I don't usually do this. I'm saying let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's give him an opportunity to kind of get up and running. But my listeners are pushing back and saying, you know, he knows this city. Like, he knows what's happening here. Do you think, and this is more of your opinion than what you're saying, do you think that people, and not just the mayor, but that D'Souza has people's support at this moment?
Well, he is, I think, somewhat popular inside the department.
Okay.
And certainly, excuse me, on the city council. Brandon Scott, who's the chairman of the Public Safety Committee, is a big supporter of D'Souza. And in fact, I think that was so widely known that Commissioner Davis used to send D'Souza to hearings when he felt that the council was going to yell at the department, so that it would sort of act as a buffer. And so I think he is a homegrown guy. He's a Baltimore guy. He lives here already. He doesn't need to move into the city. He came came up within the agency, and so that will be seen as popular by the troops. But again, I think the test of police commissioners in terms of whether they're embraced from within the department is always what happens when there's that first scandal and how do they handle it. And if many times there's these things are viewed polar opposite ways between the community and the police department. Something will happen, and all of us outside the police department will say, "Oh, that's terrible. That those guys deserve to go to jail or something." And inside the department, it will be seen as a sort of an unfair attack on these officers. And so then the commissioner has to make a choice who he sides with.
Now, last quick question for you, Luke. Is this a major shakeup? I mean, for the people down at City Hall, are people completely shook up, or are they like you? We've been to this rodeo before. We knew it was going to eventually happen. So let's just kind of move in that direction. Is this a major shakeup?
It is. I think that, the mayor surprised a lot of people because she played this close to the vest. Not too many people knew this was coming. Although maybe there were some tea leaves to read in terms of just the crime and the corruption within the agency, and eventually you got to think some heads will roll. But yeah, I mean, there was a lot of chaos this morning. I mean, when they fired Davis, they appeared to be firing the entire command staff. People's phones got cut off.
We couldn't reach people.
Yes. And now they're saying, no, none of those people are fired. That was all a mistake. Please come back. You're not fired. So it is. The department's in a little bit of chaos right now. And I think there's going to be. But I do think that generally D'Souza is well regarded. And we'll see if he's up to the test.
All right. Thank you so much, Luke Broadwater from the Baltimore Sun. Thank you for being available to jump on and help us figure this thing out, sir. Oh. So, folks, let's keep talking about it. 410-319-8888. I just want to throw something else on the table. I want you to think about as we're dealing with the fact that Commissioner Kevin Davis is out. He has a clause in his contract that if he has been fired without cause, he's able to receive 75% of a 1-year contract. That's about $150,000. If he's been fired with cause, he doesn't receive any of that. So has he been fired with cause or without cause? Because if he's been fired without cause, dude's getting ready to jump out of this plane called Baltimore with a golden parachute worth $150,000 of our dollars. I'm not too cool with that. We have Darren on the line. Darren, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dr. Kaye. And I basically I want to address both your questions. First, I just want to ask if you have any knowledge about the Fraternal Order of Police or your guests or any experts about what kind of relationship the Fraternal Order of Police has with all of this. How much skin they got in the game. Because it seemed like when this stuff was going on, they were kind of lurking in the back, and I really wasn't sure of their relationship and how much their power they had. Are you still there?
I'm still here. No, I'm writing your question down so I can get the answer for you.
And the other thing was, as far as the government shutdown, I'm not surprised because from what I understand, and I really hope that this is just conspiracy, but I've heard that Donald Trump comes from a class that really wants to destroy the administrative state.
Wow.
And prop up the courts in favor of industry and prop up industry. And I just hope I'm wrong about that because that would just gut America from its, that would really affect the soul of America. And thank you, Dr. Kaye.
Let me ask you one quick question before you go, Darren. Do you have people in your family, people that you know, who will be personally affected if the government shuts down?
Yeah. Because I have military in my family. Okay. And, they're like very... they we do. Some of us go in the military to try to make our conditions better. And, and even the funny thing is, I got 2 nieces in the military talking about they're not even getting paid when they're supposed to get paid. Wow. And it's not a government shutdown.
Wow.
And, and one of them can't get a commission pay right, and she is doing everything.
Wow.
So it's like we already kind of like fragmented, to a degree in what's going on with business in America. We don't need no trouble. Thank you, Dr. Kaye.
Thank you so much, Darren. So, folks, with this impending government shutdown, which is 7 hours, 44 minutes, 17 seconds away, it is looming. And as we know, If the government shuts down, your cousin, your mother, your father, your sister, you, if you work for the government, you may not get that money that you're going to lose back. The Republican Party is holding this country hostage. But guess what, folks? I'm just going to throw out that they're probably going to continue to get paid. Like, that's the kind of country that we live in. Those of us who are struggling, those of us who are part of that lower percentage of this country who are working every day, trying to put food on our table, keep a roof over our heads, make our car payments, trying to keep our kids fed and clothed. When the government shuts down, it affects us. Those that are in power, the ones who are holding us hostage, seem to be doing fine, seem to be accumulating massive wealth. I just saw that Cory Booker is now worth $2 million. Folks, I'm not saying Cory Booker is the problem. I'm saying those who are in these positions of power, who have that kind of money, they don't understand the real struggle at our level. We're talking about two issues today. Commissioner Kevin Davis is out, and the government might be closing in 7 hours and 43 minutes. I have Linda on the phone. Linda, welcome to the show.
Hi, good evening, and God bless to you and everybody.
Hello, Linda. How you doing?
I just want to say, C. Baby, it should have happened, quite some time ago. But I told you about the big cleanup, the cleanup of the corruption, the conspiracy, the cover-up. And believe me, baby, Davis don't have to worry about that $150,000. Honey, when God gets finished pulling the covers off of the corruption, the cover-up, because there's been a whole lot of cover-up, and he was in charge of it, because like the brother said, and I said a long time ago, somebody's still gonna pay for the death of Freddie Gray.
Yes, they are.
They got
yes,
patted on the back, and baby, let me tell you, look, they I heard got a little I heard a little bit about Fire and Fury.
Yes, the new book. Movie. Yes, it's the book that's out. Mm-hmm.
Well, I got another movie, a couple movie titles that's coming your way. And one is from the White House to the outhouse. and the other one is from the White House to the big house.
There we go.
Donald Trump going to make presidential history. He might be the first one to go from the White House to the big house.
Thank you so much, Linda. Thank you. Folks, it's Friday afternoon here. We are talking about two issues on the table. Commissioner Kevin Davis is out, and the government might be shutting down in about 7 hours, 41 minutes. We have Theodore on the line. Theodore, welcome to the show.
Your Hebrew Israelite brother.
Hello. So you're going to help us make sense of this. This thing's a mess, Theodore.
Look, I want us to just pray for the brother and give him a chance.
Okay.
And I want everybody out there who's listening to me, I want you to go and buy the book From Babylon to Timbuktu.
From Babylon to Timbuktu. I'm writing it down.
Everybody need to get that book. It's all in Africa right now.
Okay.
And it's very, very interesting. It gives you the history of our people.
From Babylon to Timbuktu. All right, Theodore, I'm going to try to pick it up.
And if you don't get a copy, I'm going to buy you a copy.
Buy me a copy, because that way when you call, when you say my Hebrew Israelite brother, I can go, this is your Hebrew Israelite sister. I can comment back once I read the book. Let me ask you, Theodore, before you go. So what do you think about this impending government shutdown?
Well, you know how America is running, It's,
yes.
I wish I had 2 hours to explain it, but I don't.
So then do it in 30 seconds.
America is finished.
Mm.
London is going to join, England is going to join with China and India and all those countries, because America money, it don't worth nothing. And that's why England is dropping out of the European market, and they're going to pay them $17 billion penalty to drop out.
Oh, thank you so much, Theodore. Thanks for checking in here on a Friday afternoon. Folks, we got two issues on the table. Commissioner Kevin Davis is out, and the government looks like it's going to close down in about 7 hours, 39 minutes. When the mayor fired Commissioner Kevin Davis, and she gave her statement that she was impatient and that Commissioner Kevin Davis was not creative enough in his problem-solving mechanisms towards the city. I'm sorry, 343 after a third year of reaching over 300. There's nothing saying they're creative in that at all. And she's expecting Commissioner D'Souza to be creative. Well, we have a clip from his press conference. Let's listen to it and we'll continue to talk about it.
Good morning. So, yes, as Madam Mayor said, I've been with the Baltimore City Police Department just 30 years now, and in those 30 years, I served honorably in all ranks. I'm proud to say that I went through every single rank in the Baltimore City Police Department, and it was a tough challenge. And in those 30 years, a good 90% were directly inside the community itself, all over Baltimore City. And there's a lot of individuals, there's a lot of lives that were lost, there's a lot of people with bleeding hearts, and there's a lot of work that we have to be, that needs to be done. That's number one priority. The priority as of this moment right now, it's really simple. It's a really simple priority, and that's violent reduction. Second priority is violent reduction, and third priority is violent reduction at accelerated pace. That's the bottom line. Secondly, my plan is to immediately put more uniformed police officers on the streets. We have men and women in the police department that do a valuable job every single day. Detectives, officers in every single of the 9 districts. They serve honorably. They pour their hearts out on a regular basis. In fact, I spoke to a young officer in the Southern District just 2 days ago. He's actually in his second surgery in reference to an injury he sustained wrestling a gun away from a suspect in South Baltimore. I just spoke to him. And his words were real simple. He says, "Sir, I want to hurry up and get back to work."
So he's saying that he has 3 priorities. He was saying violent reduction. I'm just going to assume, and I cannot speak for Commissioner D'Souza, that he meant violence reduction, that those are the things that he's going to focus on over and over and over again. I'm going to co-sign that. I think at this moment, people shouldn't be getting raises, and I'm talking about all the folks who are getting raises. We know that, from the mayor to the comptroller to Jack Young to the CEO of the Baltimore City School System, Sonia Santalese. I don't think anyone should be getting a raise right now. I don't think anything should happen financially to help those folks until we see some changes on the streets, until 343 gets down to what? 1 number or none, until the schools are in a position to be humane institutions where we can send our babies. Nobody should be making more money. I think we got a problem that's going on. And the hope is that Commissioner D'Souza, who's now in, will solve it. We have Marie on the line. Marie, thank you for calling the show.
I just want to ask you, after I talk, to repeat those other mayors in the past who had fired their commissioners.
Okay.
What I was going to say here, there's a new book out called It's Even Worse Than You Think.
Oh, man.
By Dr Kaye Johnson. And he's been tracking Trump for over 20 years.
Wow.
And I had heard about this closing or whatever of the government or whatever. And I heard yesterday they said maybe it would happen February the 16th. But we'll have to see whether this happens at all. Have a good day, and thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you so much. She was talking about the mayors that have fired. If you go onto the Baltimore Sun, they have an article about commissioners and how long they've been. So if we go back, Kevin Davis was in office from 2015 to 2018. He came in because the mayor then, Stephanie Rollins-Blake, fired Batts. Batts had been there from 2012 to 2015. Before Batts was Frederick Bielfeld III, 2007, 2012. I'm going all the way back now to Dixon. And before him was Ham, 2004 to 2007, and then Kevin Clark, 2003 to 2004. So we have in this city a long history of commissioners coming in and coming out. That is what we have been seeing. When there's been a spike in crime, then a way that the mayor can show us that they hear us is a fire the police commissioner. They can't fire the entire police department. So they fire from the top. Now, one of the things that Commissioner D'Souza said in this press conference, he's going to put more police officers on the street. Folks, I don't understand how that's going to happen, given the fact that we are supposed to have 3,000 cops here in Baltimore City, and the last count from the mayors, we only have 2,100. So where are the cops coming from that he's going to put on the street? We need some answers about how they're getting more people into the police department. I have Clarence on the phone. Clarence, welcome to the show.
Dr. Kaye, I'm not going to be long.
Okay, sir.
Well, look.
I'm sorry to hear that.
On the police commissioner, it's more than just the police commissioner and the mayor. With all of those murders, somebody knew who committed the crime.
Yeah.
And until they step forward, the city's not going to move forward because the residents are the city.
Right.
The second point is on, I would like for you to see if you could get the school commissioner who would. I talked to the lady the other day on another program. I waited 50 minutes to get an answer to my question, and the answer that she gave was that they talked about City College and how those students were doing well, and then the bombshell. Well, the reason that the students in Baltimore City passing grade is 60 because they have so many.
Right, and we've been talking about this.
They have so many problems, emotional problems.
Oh, come on.
Oh, yes. She was on a show, and what I would
really?
like for you to, yes, really.
Oh.
I'm not.
Come
Please
on.
get her to come to
I
your
will.
show.
She will. We have reached out to her. We have reached out to her.
When is the meeting that they're going to have in Baltimore City?
I think it's on the 22nd because I'm planning to go to it. I think it's on Monday. So we need to make sure we are there because that is not an answer.
Well,
that is acceptable.
Even if I'm feeling bad, I will be. Where's it going to be?
It's going to be at 200 East North Avenue. Same place, North Avenue.
It's going to be at the headquarters.
No. Oh, you know what? No, Clarence. I'm sorry. They've moved it to a bigger location. And I'm going to try to remember where it is. They moved it to one of the schools because they said that the office at 200 East North Avenue is not big enough. So as we're talking, they're moving it to Dunbar High School, Clarence. Dunbar High School on Monday. You need to be there.
And I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to get off the phone.
Yes, sir.
I grew up in Baltimore City. I grew up in a home where my mother was an alcoholic, but we had teachers, we had counselors, and things that programmed and pushed us and carried us along. I don't understand how a CEO of the school system can put this on the kids when it's her job in the school. Thank you for taking my comment.
Thank you so much. Folks, what Clarence just said has deeply disturbed me. We have a passing grade of 60 because our kids have too many emotional problems. So we got to deal with that. We're dealing with the fact that the police commissioner, Kevin Davis, has just been fired. Now we have a new one. And we got to deal with the fact that in 7 hours, 30 minutes, the government's going to shut down. Folks, there's a lot going on. When we come back, we're going to continue to break this down. We're going to keep the phone lines open, and I want to hear from you, 410-319-8888. Let's have a conversation that matters going into this weekend. Clarence, who's the different Clarence than I want to have before, James, Kenneth, hold on. I will come to you right after the break. This is Today with Dr. Kaye. I'm Dr. Kaye Wise Whitehead. Keep it here. Welcome back to Today with Dr. Kaye. I'm Dr. Kaye Wise Whitehead. Folks, Commissioner Kevin Davis is out. Many of you have prayed or chanted or marched or sung. We've had die-ins and pray-ins trying to get him out of there, and he is gone. And now we have Commissioner D'Souza. He is now the city's 40th police commissioner. He started today at 9 a.m. According to Luke Broadwater, when it happened, there was all kind of upheaval and confusion where there were people who were still working, who were locked out of the system. People thought that they fired everybody, and this is our mayor, only fired Commissioner Kevin Davis. D'Souza said, and I quote, "We are working to reduce violence like literally ASAP." So he's on the job. He also said he's going to do a rollout. It's going to come in waves every hour on the hour until midnight. They're going to do an increase in foot patrol. It's going to last for 13 days. And they're going to consider keeping the increase up going forward. So I want to be clear, folks, that Commissioner D'Souza's answer to violence reduction is to give us more cops. Like, that is the answer. Not just give us more cops, roll them out every hour on the hour until midnight. Like, that's going to happen. Increased police presence. Over-policing might come as a result of this. Now, the mayor wants him to be creative. What's more creative than giving us more cops? There's got to be another kind of solution that he has, and we got to figure out what else Commissioner D'Souza has planned in his new job to do what he said. We are working to reduce violence, like literally ASAP. We have Clarence on the phone. Clarence, welcome to the show.
Okay. One thing I'd like to say, it always irks me when I hear people say, I don't like to sound conspiratorial. Okay, I'm apologizing for thinking, okay? It just gets me sometimes, that we've gotten to the point where when we think outside the official narrative, we have to apologize for it, okay? But anyway, as far as the government shutdown is concerned, I don't think there's any one of them over there that's not having a private conversation between themselves. Yeah, we can argue about including the DAPA, the acronym for the...
right.
Yeah. We can argue. How long can we argue about this while we save some money by shutting the government down?
Right.
I mean, we can do damage control on that, but it's a great way to save some money right there. It's like a temporary budget cut,
right.
So, I get all of that. But what did police commissioner get fired for? Did he get fired for the 300 murders? He didn't know.
Oh, come on. Come on.
That's not his problem. Did he get fired for the functional criminal organization that he was supposed to control? Those are two separate different issues.
Yeah.
Two completely different issues. My take is he got fired for the functional criminal entity that he was supposed to control.
And he was not able to do it.
So now we've moved somebody else into the same position, same circumstances. Nobody's doing it. Look at the school system, look at lack of jobs, look at all of that, and look at the consequences of that. So now he's in a position when it becomes convenient close to an election, or I want to give the appearance of doing something, we'll find a reason to get rid of him too. So, I've seen this rerun before.
Yeah, it's a movie, and we're starting again at the beginning. Thank you so much, Clarence, for joining me. Folks, we're talking about Commissioner D'Souza, who is, I'm just going to use his words, working to reduce violence like literally ASAP. That is what he's doing. Give him the benefit of the doubt or not. We have Kenneth on the line. Kenneth, welcome to the show. Hello, Kenneth. Are you with us?
Oh, yeah. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. How are you?
I hit the background. Heard it all before. Yes, indeed. But who was that last, the guy from California, the black police chief? I'm not good with names.
Oh, who came? Okay, let me go here. We had, that was Batts, and Batts is back. I think he's back in L.A. now. Anthony Batts. Mm-hmm.
Why did they get rid of that guy? That guy had something in the making. They didn't even give him a chance to get nothing going.
Now, Anthony Batts was here from 2012 to 2015. Like they said, you got enough time. That's 3 years. Do it or go.
Yeah, come on. And then again, and I'm going to go out on a limb saying this, and people going to be mad at me. I don't think Kevin was fired. I think he stepped down.
Ooh. Oh, wait a minute now.
Oh, that's corny.
Oh, yeah. So you think he stepped down?
Yeah, in lieu of.
Okay.
And that's all I'm going to say.
All right. Thank you, Kenneth. Thank you also for the song. I heard it all before. Folks, we have heard it before. We are dancing this dance. We have James on the line. James, welcome to the show. James, are you with us? All right. We're going to move on from James and go into Jay. Jay, welcome to the show.
Good evening, Dr. Kaye.
How you doing? I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm a lifetime Baltimore City resident, and I had 5 people shot in my block in the last 5 years.
I'm so sorry.
Died, all were African American males.
I'm so sorry.
The and I'm a taxpayer. I'm a homeowner, and I'm gonna tell you something. It's not about how many people you have; it's where you place people at.
Oh, okay.
And I come up Park Heights every day. If you talk to police officers, and I talk to white ones and black ones, some of them, whether you're black or white, unfortunately, police officers have that code of police officers, and it's not about giving a damn about your city.
Okay, watch your foul language, though. No, no, it's okay. Thank you so much. Go ahead.
But I've heard black officers cussing and talking about citizens like dogs, and I've had intelligent conversations with white officers.
Okay.
So they all are not monolithic in their thinking and acting.
Right.
But I met with District Command in Northwest District about drug activities in my community.
Okay.
And they came and visited and saw that it was happening. And we asked for foot patrol or patrol car in our block, and they said that they have a rotating foot patrol. So it's not each district has foot patrol.
Right.
Okay? It's a floating thing, floating from district to district, which is stupid.
Right.
Every district should have foot patrol in it.
And what I want to say is that's what DeSouza is saying. He's saying he's going to increase foot patrol at least over the next 13 days.
No, he didn't say that. No, he said, because if you use the floating foot patrol, that means that each district only gets it a certain amount of time, a month or a year.
Right.
Okay, so that's bogus.
Right, so now he's not saying floating. Now, he just said, now I'm only going by his words in his press conference, because he said he's going to roll out cops every hour on the hour until midnight, and he's going to increase foot patrols for the next 13 days. So you don't think that's going to happen, Jay?
No.
Okay.
No. You fail to understand the proper use of the word foot patrol. I said if it's floating, and it goes from district to district, it still qualifies as foot patrol. It's just not permanent foot patrol.
I get it. Okay.
You have to strategically place your foot patrol where the high crime areas are. You don't need a plethora or more people. You need to strategically place them correctly.
Now, wait. Now, I'm going to say thank you so much, Jay, for giving us a call. Folks, we got a ton of people on the line. I just want to know, because what Jay is saying is exactly what Commissioner DeSouza said. He said he's going to place his foot patrol officers that he's rolling out every hour on the hour until midnight. He's going to place them in strategic locations where there have historically been high crime rates, places where they're, quote, problematic businesses that have been attractive to criminals. So this is what DeSouza is saying, folks. This is what we wanted. You wanted a change. You wanted Commissioner Kevin Davis gone. The mayor heard you. And now we have Commissioner DeSouza. Maybe we need to try to work with him. Should we already be against the man? He just started this morning at 9 a.m. I don't think the crime numbers are going to go down today. I don't think we've even increased in homicide today. We're at a standstill. Maybe we give him a chance. We have Charles on the line. Charles, what do you think? Give him a chance or not?
You know what, Dr. Kaye?
Yes, sir.
You said one of the best things that I've heard since you've had this conversation.
Thank you.
Give the man a chance, but nobody is really saying what we can do. We're throwing all this weight on this new guy. And by the way, is he a Morgan alum? That's what I heard.
Yes, that's what someone said. He was a Morgan alum. And I have been searching for that. I'm not saying it's not true. Okay. I just can't confirm that it is true. That's what I'm looking for. Go ahead.
But you said we do have to join in. We have to get involved in the political system. We have to work with the police. We have to start, for lack of a better word, snitching. We got to let people know what's happening.
Oh, that's huge, Charles. Do you think, now let me ask you this, because I agree with you. I mean, if you see something, say something. I definitely agree with that. But you and I both know, right, if we're going to get real here on a Friday afternoon, you and I both know that there are some communities here in Baltimore City, when you snitch, in effect, you are putting a death threat on your life.
That's true.
Because the price of payment is very high. Think of the woman whose house was burned up. With her and her family, because she just spoke out and approached the drug. She just didn't want them in front of her house and on her block. So when we start saying, well, you just don't snitch, I can say that and you can say that. I'm wondering, in certain communities, are you willing to let your daughter, your son, your grandmother say what they've seen, knowing it could potentially cost them their lives?
Well, I wouldn't do that, of course, especially if I know that, you know, that it could potentially cause death or whatever. But let's just say I didn't know, or I wasn't seen or whatever by the person. So maybe that's a time I can make a tip. But I really want to emphasize that you said we. And oftentimes with the schools, everything that's going on, we never do anything. We're not proactive, we're reactive.
Right.
And one last thing. You
Yes,
said
sir.
that there's going to be a meeting at Dunbar.
Yes, on the
Monday,
22nd.
But you didn't say the time.
It's going to be at 5:30 p.m. 6 p.m. 6 p.m. 6 p.m. I'm sorry. 6 p.m.
Good, because I'm going to let my classes out early on Monday.
Okay, then I'm looking to meet you there, Charles.
Okay,
Because if I'm going to say we includes me too.
Okay, and Dr. Kaye, I want you to take one of my free yoga classes, and I will be sending that information to you because I know you're under a lot of stress.
And I would love any yoga classes. Thank you so much,
free,
Charles. I
and I want you
appreciate that. I appreciate that. Folks, yoga, chanting, meditation, prayers, all of that's important. And all of that perhaps has helped us to get to a point where people are now celebrating that Commissioner Kevin Davis is out. I also think we need to keep in mind that the government shutting down 7 hours, 17 minutes. Let's keep that in the back of our mind. We have Glord on the line. Glord, thank you so much for calling us back. How are you?
Yes, I'm coming along pretty good, Dr. Kaye. Again, I was born in Sandtown, Winchester. I've been around since the 1940s.
So you've seen this game before? You've seen this dance before? You've seen this kind of dance before, Glord?
Of course.
Yeah.
And I always call in and voice my opinion, and I can see what's going on. And hopefully the new commissioner, Sousa, I hope he was taking consideration and being a community person for a long, long time, which I still am. I hear that a lot of officers, once they be trained, it's a certain training that they need in the county. And once they get that training from the city, they leave and go into the county because there's less crime and more money but less crime.
A little bit easier out there, right?
Right. So hopefully if he can stop that, and then again, when he gets in, be clean from the top, because I still got a problem with when they put that rat on their police car. So if he clean from the top down, things would be a lot better. And believe it or not, people that when they move into a community, they want to make sure that it's a strong community.
Right.
Oh yeah, because in that way, believe it or not, because I'm in a seniors community, they pay their dues and they want to. They always had a problem with trying to hook up with the polices. And when I had called before, I think I was saying that what they do, they switch them around. And we had written letters to the police department to say, hey, why did you get rid of this person? We was getting to know this person, you know.
Right.
And now in the 20th century, a lot of people have to be careful. We just can't approach people like we used to.
Right.
So this is why I make sure our elderly guys get a provider number. They can call in, and that way they can give the number. They don't have to give their names and this and that. But there's a lot going on, and we working with the police.
Right.
This is important. They can't do it alone. They need us. And we've been doing that for years and years and years.
I completely agree with you, Glord. We got to work it out. Thank you so much, Glord, for giving us a call. Folks, we need to look for ways that we can work with them. Commissioner D'Souza, I will say he is one of ours. He got a BA from Morgan State University, and we know anyone coming up through Morgan State University has a unique understanding of what is happening in this city. Now, I, of course, am not any kind of, root sayer. I don't have a crystal ball. I have no idea what type of job he's going to do. I do know that if we don't support what is happening here, we're going to find ourselves next year back at this point. Who wants to deal with 343 again? Got a couple of folks checking in from Facebook Live, and then we're going to make sure the phones are open. Rhonda's saying that we need to help the city. Make sure nobody in your house is doing drugs. Make sure you teach your kids about having integrity and a good character. Rhonda's also saying you need to volunteer at a school or a youth activity in your community. You have to change the mindset of people in the city of Baltimore. The police cannot solve any problem in Baltimore if the community refuses to change their mind. Thank you so much, Rhonda. We also have Stell chiming in. Stell saying we need to think about changing the title here because she's acting. This is Sonia Santalese. She's supposed to be, our superintendent here, CEO. Which one is it? Because a CEO is talking about money with the school system. A superintendent has a different job. Additionally, 60 is unacceptable. That we're doing a true disservice to the children of Baltimore City in our public schools by allowing 60 to stand. We have James on the line. James, welcome to the show.
Hello, Dr. Kaye.
Hello, sir. How are you?
Again, I thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for calling.
I love your show.
Thank you.
You have beautiful topics that need to be addressed.
Thank you.
And what I would like to say is that I don't know if I lost communication or what, but I was stating previously that our commissioner, Mr. BETTS, needed to be changed.
Yes.
And he was. Okay, and I was also stating that now this seems like a similar scenario where our mayor and our police chief, okay, they disagree, but they don't change the platform.
Right.
What's happening now with Mayor Pugh and this commissioner, he came up under BETTS, and I was saying at the time that no, he was already tainted because he's been in a couple of counties where the overview wasn't altogether favorable for us, okay?
Okay.
And for the people who support the department. And now we are back to that same point. Now, I'm about this, though.
Right.
Although this brother's been in the shadows for 30 years, okay?
Uh-huh.
I want to give him a little chance, but he don't get no long-term contracts.
Right.
You get you get an overnight sleep kind of thing. Where if you come in here and you prove to the people who are on the oversight board, you do have an oversight board, don't you?
You do. So you kind of have a proof of job performance.
People on the oversight board that you were more so restricted. Okay, but you still followed orders to a certain extent, okay, then I can understand that. But if you are coming in and implementing the same things that has carried you for the last 30 years, graduated your kids from college and all of that, then and leave my kids out in the street, that is not going to work. And so what I'm saying is, don't make it no long-term thing. We ain't extending and wrapping. We ain't with that guy named with the rubber arms on this Super 4. We ain't him. We can't do that. We ain't gonna wrap you all up.
We're not gonna wrap you up.
What we want to do is touch fingers with you and see if we can try to lock fingers from there and step on.
Thank you so much, James. I know exactly what you mean. Folks, people are chiming in here on Friday afternoon. We have two issues on the table. We have a new commissioner, D'Souza, Morgan grad, been in the police force for 30 years. He is planning to, as he said, focus on violence, focus on reducing violence, literally like ASAP. That's what he's saying. He's rolling out foot patrol officers every hour on the hour until midnight. The other issue on the table is a government shutdown, 7 hours, 10 minutes. We have Kim on the phone. Kim, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I'm happy to have you.
I just like to say we just need to give this new commissioner a chance. He did talk statistically about strategies that have been used where they had a 12-day and a 6-day of no violence in certain areas. So he comes from a point that he studied some things, and I think he's willing to try new things to kind of jumpstart peace in the neighborhoods. But also, we can't solve the problem of violence in Baltimore just on policing. You have those 5 kids that they had on the news that tortured the cat.
Yes.
Okay, you lock them up. What good is that doing? They need counseling.
Yeah.
They need a whole lot of other things before they need to be policed and corralled into the criminal locked up. So I think I'm very optimistic.
Good.
But I wish we would talk about other avenues of help other than more policing.
I completely agree with you, Kim. Let me get you before you go. Just a quick question for you. Where do you stand on this impending government shutdown? Like, what do you think about that?
You know, when the Republicans shut it down twice during the Obama administration, nobody made a big deal out of it affecting the military.
Right.
I just think we just get manipulated and caught up in whatever they want us to try to, whatever they want to upset us about. I believe they're going to not shut it down, or if they do, it'll just be temporarily, and it'll be a stopgap to save some money and move on. I'm just so fed up with the federal government right now. I just don't even know what to do. You just hold your breath.
Hold your breath and see what happens. Thank you so much, Kim. Thank you for checking in. Folks, 2 issues on the table. There's a government shutdown. It is impending. We're talking now. We're watching the countdown clock on CNN. 7 hours, 8 minutes, 28, 27, 26 seconds. We have a clip from Senator Mitch McConnell where he is blasting the Democrats. Let's take a quick listen to it.
Coverage for 9 million children in low-income families for 6 years. This vote should be a no-brainer. And it would be, except the Democratic leader has convinced his members to filibuster any funding bill that doesn't include legislation they are demanding for people who came into the United States illegally. What has been shoehorned into this discussion is an insistence that we deal with an illegal immigration issue. He's insisted that he won't support any legislation at all for the American people, no matter how non-controversial or how bipartisan, unless we pass a bill on illegal immigration first. If that means shutting down the funding for veterans, military families, opioid treatment centers, and even federal grants to his home state of New York, so be it. If it means throwing a wrench into the gears of the U.S. economy, just as Americans are starting to feel the benefits of historic tax reform, so be it. If it means failing to renew the Children's Health Program, which the House-passed bill funded for a full 6 years, apparently that's just fine with those on the other side. Nearly every Democrat in the House made the same demand. That's been their stated position. Nothing for hundreds of millions of Americans and no health care for 9 million vulnerable children until we solve a non-imminent issue related to illegal immigration.
So the government has an impending shutdown. 7 hours, 6 minutes. I want to note, folks, that that was Senator Mitch McConnell, of course, kind of laying out what's going to happen if the government shuts down. Military will still have to report, but they will not get paid. It's going to affect the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives. You're going to have to wait to get you a gun permit. Now, I'm not necessarily against that one, but that is going to happen. Essential services such as Social Security, Air Traffic Control, Transportation Security Administration will continue to be funded even if some of the employees of this agency does not. Folks, we're talking about you or your grandmother or your mother or your sister. Folks who work for the government ain't going to get paid. I think that's something that should alarm you. The Republicans are holding us hostage. They did it during Barack Obama. It's happened during Reagan. This time, the stakes are even higher because the man that's sitting in the center of this doesn't seem to have a firm grasp and understanding. I would like to know he canceled his trip to Mar-a-Lago so he could stay and focus on them. He maybe should have gone. He might just be getting in the way. I have Teresa on the line. Teresa, welcome to the show.
Hi.
How you doing?
You all. I just want to say, you know and I know, and all the callers and everyone that listen to the show know that the government is playing a game.
Yep.
The Republicans and the Democrats, they need to be protected too. So even if they thought that they was really going to shut down the military and all of that or do some things, you know, to them, we know that that's not going to work. It's just a big game, a big animosity or something between the Republicans and the Democrats.
Thank you so much, Teresa. I'm going to cut you there because we have just time for one more quick caller. Jeffrey, I want to get you in here. Hey, Jeffrey, how are you?
Oh, bless you. Yourself?
I'm fine. You're a new caller. Welcome to the family. You got 30 seconds, Jeffrey.
Okay, she was right. That lady before me was right. And the fact of the matter, it is a game for both the Republicans and the Democrats because they just gave them. We should not be talking about anything else but them giving themselves all that money for that tax break. That's what we should be talking about. And then there should be no. The only other thing we should talk about is the fact how Mitch McConnell they blocked with some unknown rules. They come out woodwork with these rules and they took the Supreme Court nominee away. We should not. We should still be talking about that. That's the only thing we need to talk about and do something about it because. It's the I have so much disdain for all of them. All the Republicans and the Democrats who work in Congress make $170,000, $180,000.
Yes, they do.
Whatever it is.
They're becoming millionaires. They're becoming millionaires.
It was a big Christmas present, and now when they shut down the government, I'm pretty sure there's some money funneling along from other places. It's just absolutely incredible that I mean, it's like plain as day.
Now, let me ask you one quick question, Jeffrey, because you're our last call on this Friday afternoon. Commissioner DeSouza, the new commissioner in Baltimore City, should we support him and give him the benefit of the doubt or not?
Absolutely, you gotta support him and give him the benefit of the doubt.
All right.
And you have to, do other things besides police, just like the other lady said.
Thank you so much, Jeffrey. Thank you for calling in. Welcome to the family, folks. I'm gonna leave it here. We have had what I think has been a conversation that matters, talking about the issues, trying to understand them. Thank you so much for joining me, for sharing your drive time with me. I thank all of our guests, Luke Broadwater and Professor Johnson and Councilman Scott. Thank you so much. Today with Dr. Kaye is a production of WEAA. The show is produced by Alex Blanc today. Our board operators are Andre Melton and Mikhail Ramos. Stay tuned, because up next is For the Culture with Faraji. He's also going to discuss the firing of Commissioner Kevin Davis, who was actually on Faraji's show earlier this week. So if you couldn't get through with me, stay riding with Faraji. You can talk about it with him. Remember that here on Today with Dr. Kaye, your voice matters. Your opinion matters. We tell stories that matter. We're here for you. We're listening, because if it has your ear, then it has our attention, right here on Public Radio, WEAA 88.9 FM, the voice of the community. Make an appointment. Meet me back here on Monday at 3 p.m. Enjoy this warm weather and stay tuned for a final update from MTA. 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 From MTA.